Thank you for tuning in to Koppen with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen. We're here with comic Maddy Smith. Maddy Smith, how the hell are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good. It's so nice for you to come on. Thank you so much. And I follow you just everywhere. You're so Maddy Smith. And I love that because, when you see a joke, that is so Maddy Smith.
Oh my gosh, I love that you say that because the only reason I have that Instagram handle is because Maddie Smith was taken. But
Uh,
I'm glad that it's come into its own.
yeah. And I think there is a comedian in New York City, Madeline Smith. Did you guys ever cross paths and beef about the name or no?
Not really. I do. We did cross paths in Rochester because I'm from upstate, so I did a show in Rochester, and she was up there, and we talked a little bit about it. I said I'll have my lawyers talk to your lawyers.
And I'm a lawyer, and you've been a guest, and she hasn't. So I'll represent you.
Yeah, so we're one step ahead of her.
And this is totally private, but are you Madison? Is that the full name or no?
No, it's Madeline.
Okay, Madeline. All right. I think I probably Skyped with a Madison Smith on here, and so hopefully she's gonna be like, dude, I don't know you for shit.
Right.
But so Maddie Smith, and it just looks like you have tons of online content that you're doing during the quarantine. Are you doing sketch videos, etc.?
Not. I'm doing a little bit of sketch. When I started the quarantine, I did like a little talk show on YouTube. But lo and behold, it took a long time to edit.
That's what I'm hearing. That's the hard part for some of these video editors.
Dude, I took 2 weeks off, and I was like, I'm done. I'm done. It's so good to not do. So now I do more. It's kind of like unscripted videos for my fans, like Ask Me Anything, that kind of just meander, kind of just like practice for doing stand-up jokes that are guised as Ask Me Anythings.
And are you doing those things live so that you're able to practice on your feet thinking or no?
They are. So I don't prep the questions, so I just sit in front of the camera and meander, but then I edit all the non-funny stuff out. But I don't live stuff just because I don't like when the comments come in and it's too distracting, I like a final product.
But that means that when they meet you in real life, they're going to expect every word out of your mouth to be hilarious.
And they're gonna expect some good editing, some nice coming out of my mouth.
It's like she's not editing out her sneezes or whatever. I don't know what the hell happened to Maddie Smith. That is not so Maddie Smith.
I'm not zooming in on punchlines. What's going on?
And so we're going to talk about today. You are not the only comedian in your household. It sounds like you recently moved in with former guest Andrew Chavone, who's just a delight.
Yes, we do live together, and we just happen to be dating. But the movie first, and yeah, we've been dating about 2 years now. Yeah, he's a delight. He's still sleeping because he works and I don't. So
that's pretty amazing that your apartment is big enough that you're able to do an interview and he can still be asleep in another room.
that was our goal because the beginning of quarantine, we're in this tiny little bedroom, and I said, "Get me a 2-bedroom apartment because I hate you."
Yeah.
Nothing personal, but I hate you.
Yeah, I've had a female comedian who was like, "Shh," and I'm like, "Who are you shushing?" And she's like, "My boyfriend's here. We have a really small apartment."
Yeah. Like in Queens, the prices are going down, but Manhattan too. You got to get that big space.
Yeah. So at what point did you know that Andrew Chavone was a comic that you gave a shit about, such that you were like, I need this dude, I need this notch on my belt, I need this dude right now? Like, and was it before or after you saw his act?
It was after. I think we had met first. I think I saw him first when I had within a first year, and I was like, "Oh, there's a funny guy," and then we kept crossing paths. And for me, it's more about offstage, being nice and normal, and nothing weird, nothing ego involved. There's a few red flags but he was always nice, listening, and the more we talked, the more I was like, wow, this guy is so nice, normal, and funny. So
you're saying there was red flags with him initially, or you're saying normally with comedians there's red flags?
With other people, you cross them off the list. You got to cross. He does something weird, boom. I kick people out pretty quickly of my crush, and he stayed on for a long time.
Wow.
No red flags ever, and so that's pretty much it. If you're nice and normal, and then you also happen to be funny, you're staying on ship with me.
But I just love, like, out of the whole comedy community in New York City, only Andrew Chavone can meet that kind of Venn diagram overlap between funny, nice, and normal.
Honestly, Andrew Chavone, Steve Rogers, funny, nice, and normal, and yep, can't think of anyone else. Sorry.
Dude, I love that. And one of the things I like about him is he's in the moment and he's funny, but he also can laugh. Like he's got this infectious laugh that has you laughing twice as hard as you would normally.
It's a belly laugh. Our talk show at the beginning of quarantine, he would laugh so hard at this, and I would feel so confident putting it. And then I would get comments like, "What is this?"
And who is that guy laughing in the background? Yeah, I noticed that early on in some of your content, like during the quarantine, he was a prop or a bit player. Like how at what point do you feel comfortable kind of roping in your boyfriend to your content, and what can you ask him that he'll say yes to, and what has he ever said no to?
Yeah. Well, I knew when I wanted to do the late afternoon talk show that I was envisioning like a little band. Actually, I didn't picture him in there at first, but then I was like, let's sit there and play the bass. That'd be so funny. And then it turned into kind of like this duo act. And then, so I think that was the first big content thing. And now we're thinking of doing some more kind of like living together sketch stuff. And he's cool. He's cool with anything. And I would never do anything to like humiliate him. The one thing I'm seeing, like, I don't know if you're on TikTok, there's a lot of like embarrassing your boyfriend trends. There's a lot of like prank your boyfriend. There's a lot of like film your boyfriend and ask him if he knows what a tampon is. Like that kind of like humiliating. That I would never. I would want to do more like comedy things.
Yeah.
And the humiliating stuff for me is there's a reason it goes viral because it's easy.
And you got to imagine those relationships will last only about as long as TikTok will.
Yes, thank you for that. I can't do TikTok. So yeah, anything that's and if I would never put him as like a non-consenting person in a thing. Anything he's in, I run by him, and he's like, "What's going?"
And so, have you been on their podcast? Have you been on Panic Attacking?
Yeah, I was on Panic Attacking once, but only the virtual version. So obviously, because everything is virtual right now. So I did one of their Patreon episodes. It's a really good podcast.
And so, like, at what point in the relationship did he reveal that I have a podcast, number one, and how did you react to that? But number two, it's revolving around, anxiety. When he said, "Oh yeah, I have a podcast and it's called Panic Attacking," did you say that checks out, or oh shit, I didn't even know you had anxiety?
No, actually, he started it after we started dating. So, so he didn't have the podcast when we started dating. When we started dating, he just was doing stand-up, and then I think he met Steve at the same time that him and I started like courting each other. And then they talked about doing a podcast for, of course, 8 to 10 months, which is typical for And then I think when Steven's late night set came out is when they started releasing episodes, which was like a while after. So
yeah, they thought they were going to be able to have Colbert kind of mention it. I think one of the, both of them came on, and I thought one of them was like, yeah, usually, Colbert will actually promote things like a podcast if that's what you're promoting, but in this case, he did not.
What did he say? Did he say something about Brian Regan or something?
Well, no, we talked about Brian Regan, but the Colbert didn't, kind of mention the name Panic Attacking, and so they had timed the start of Panic Attacking to the mention on late night, which ultimately did not occur.
Right, which is, and they delayed their release because of that.
That's fucking sad, right? Fuck you, Colbert.
No, literally, fuck you. But I would love to have.
Yeah, I'd love to be on there. I'd love to be on your show. Fuck you, but your show's great. And so, living with somebody with anxiety, like, are you the perfect person for that because you have no anxiety yourself?
Oh, I have so much anxiety, Brian.
Oh, so you can relate.
Yeah, I can relate, and I think it helps because we can comfort each other. His anxiety is a little different than mine. Mine is intense, self-centered panic about my career and what people think of me. Typical white woman.
That's so Maddy Smith. Like, you have a perfect career. It's going perfectly well, but you still have anxiety about it.
I literally wake up and I'm like, I'm not enough. It's literally describe. And you can't talk to people about it because they're like, are you kidding me? You have so many Instagram followers. And you're like, oh, no one can relate to my problems.
So I love the fact, like, if you did a sketch or TikTok that just had you coming out of bed saying, "I'm not enough," like that would go viral, I think.
Right. Well, I'll see what I can do. See if I
But
can
they
get.
think that, oh, she's really followed. She thinks she knows she's beloved, and therefore she doesn't get up with the feeling I'm not enough.
Dude, I honestly thought after my Wild and Out episodes came out, and I was like, oh, once I get that 10K on Instagram, I'm gonna feel great. And I feel worse. I'm like, there's stuff out. There's people commenting weird stuff. It's like when someone's losing weight and they're like, once I'm down 20 pounds, that's when I'll be happy. But you know what? It's internally that you got to fix yourself. You can't.
Yeah.
But with Andrew's anxiety, it's a little bit more um, social anxiety and less panic about his future, more like anxiety in the moment. When like a cat will get a couch delivered, he has anxiety about like giving the guys water and stuff. Where I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like other people stuff. So I'm able to talk him down from that. And
So
he's able,
when the couch guy comes, you're like, "Is my career going good, couch guy?"
I'm like, dude, do you know who I am? And he's like, how much should I tip them? I'm like, dude, I don't fucking what?
Yeah, don't tip him at all. He doesn't know who I am.
Right? Yeah, he doesn't know. So, but it's a good balance. You can't. I don't think you can have two people panicking about their careers because that turns into, well, you're mad. Well, I don't have any shows this week. So how do you think I like? He's never done that, and I've never said, oh, I didn't care about how much we tip those guys. So you can help talk. It's like yin yang, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, at what point did you learn that he also had anxiety? Did you guys bond over that initially because you had seen his act first, and his act might touch on anxiety?
Um, no, I think when we first started dating, we had to talk a lot of things out because he had been in a relationship before. So there was a lot of anxiety about that, uh, ironing out kinks. And so pretty early on, I got exposed to his thought process. And
Wow.
as someone who also has to, and he started going to therapy, I think, right when we started dating. And I'm pretty open mentally. My family is like pretty depressed and anxious. So to me, it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. Someone talking about depression's another thing. Depression's like, are you okay, dude? But anxiety, especially New York City comedians, it sounds like just someone talking. Because we're all like manic, we're
Yeah,
all panicking. So to me, it's just another guy. But I understand if I was dating like a finance guy, he would never talk that way.
yeah. And so, are you getting any therapy from him secondhand?
Um, I guess sometimes he'll come home from therapy and he'll be like, Jen said we can cook together and it'll help us feel more connected.
That is adorable.
So it's that kind of stuff. And she gives him some advice and passes it along to me, but I should also be in therapy again.
Yeah.
But, that's a whole process.
So you were before and you're not now, and kind of what
Yeah.
kind of drove you out of therapy? Was it just the price or having to go somewhere at a certain time every week?
Yes. So I was working 9 to 5 at a finance firm. I had amazing health insurance. We're talking any doctor. Every doctor was in network. Every copay was 20. I was going to the dermatologist. I was going to the neurologist. I was going to the urologist for no reason. I'm going to every doctor just to spend their money. And then when I got wild and out, I had to quit my job and get on like state health insurance or some shit. And that shit is a fucking nightmare. We're talking 3 months waiting time for physicals. And I think I tried and then just got discouraged. And yeah, it's just a whole mess. When you go from something, an insurance that every single doctor takes, to one where you have to go out to Ozone Park, Queens to see a therapist, that's when you're like, okay, maybe I'll meditate at
Yeah,
home.
because I was kind of facing some of that. Like I have certain food addiction issues, and I would normally go to like Overeaters Anonymous meetings or something if they were local. But
Yeah,
like if you're like, I have to go to Manhattan to
yeah,
go to this meeting, and on the way there's about 80,000 restaurants that I would happily go to. Like this is the thing that will kind of keep me in this fucking cycle. So like going out to Ozone Park, you're like, this is going to cause me to need more therapy.
literally. Yes, the whole process of getting there, and my therapist from in my old job, she was like, you can stay on, but we'll do 100 a week and we'll do every other week. I'm like, that's like 5 times as much as I pay now. It's therapy. Like, Carol, you're not worth it. You know, so I had to ghost her. And yeah, you have to think about what's actually good for my mental health. I mean, it'd be maybe I can look into the telehealth thing, but it's just such a process.
Yeah, are you able to kind of, is there any therapeutic effect to going on stage? And, if so, has it faded with the inability to kind of connect with people live?
Yeah, I think there is. There definitely is. There's definitely those endorphins that come from doing 4 shows a night that make you feel like, oh, I crushed on that. You know, if you do 4 shows a night, you're gonna crush on at least one. You back on that feeling until the next day. It's very rare that you have like 3 terrible in a row.
Yeah.
So you can fall back on that. And when the coronavirus started, I realized that it wasn't sustainable because now I can't perform every night. And so I had to like kind of slow down. I do think that the pandemic was good for my brain because my emotional roller coaster wasn't sustainable. The like
Yeah.
wake up feeling like I'm not enough, 7 p.m. show, do well. Okay, now I'm enough. You know, like that. That's not good. So I was able to learn how to like just have a brain that doesn't rely on crowds. But I've definitely felt less fulfilled since March because it is therapeutic, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, it sounds like, if you have anxiety and, you told me what goes into picking somebody like Andrew Chavon, what goes into picking people, like female comedians to kind of connect with early on in your career? Like, are you looking for people who are talking about anxiety on stage? Are you looking for nice and normal? And how does that change when you get certain shows like Wilding Out?
I have a group of gals who I think every strong comedian friendship just really relies on who you see the most because
Uh,
there's so many people and there's like comics who are more Brooklyn focused who I really like who I just don't see as much so I'm not as close to them like Maria Wojciechowski I always see like we did like a road gig together once in Albany and we really connected and we talked for a long time in the car, her and Kelsey Kane, but I never see her, so we're not close, but we could be close. But I'm more close with like Lindsay Tyson just because we're both at New York Comedy Club all the time.
uh,
It's more look, especially with the female comedians, like we're all pretty normal and nice. If there's any, because we all know the name of the game is just to, like put your head down and write and like avoid the weirdos.
and you guys have a running list of who the weirdos are and when to avoid them.
Yes, and we're pretty like shitty. Even if the dude isn't like like a predator, but he's like mean and rude, we'll all talk about it and shit on them together. So I really think the female comic is location based. Um,
And were you worried that would change when you moved back in the day from Brooklyn to Astoria, Queens?
no, because by then I had already been in the clubs that I was performing at, so it wasn't like but when I moved to Astoria, I was going to be like an Astoria comic. I was like in at New York Comedy Club and Caroline's and the Stand, and everything else was just gonna. I'm not like all Queens now. I'm trying to think of like, and then like with the girl comics, anyone who's just you can pick up a conversation right away. Like Alicia Hush, we always talk for like a long time before.
She's wonderful. Yeah, I just had her on. We had a lot of fun with Star Wars and Lifetime movies. We were able to connect them. So she's pretty interesting and it's just fucking tons of fun to talk to.
Yeah, really nice, normal, laughs a lot, smile. She's like the female Andrew Chavon. Just laughs, and she's someone who is like the ideal friend. She never any passive aggressive. Just like always, and the thing with like comedians is our moods are crazy. And one thing I've learned is the people I gravitate to more are those who are always the same mood.
Yeah.
I don't like mixed messages. I don't like when you're like, "What are you going to be mean or nice today?" It's never that with Alicia. She's always like, "Hey, I'm nice and normal today."
Yeah,
So,
I'm consistently Alicia. That's awesome.
right. And that's what I have been aiming to be the past 2 years is just like approachable and normal and not moody.
See, that's what I'm picking up. I think you're the female version of Andrew Chavon to me. Let me tell you.
Well, I'll let him know.
Well, it also leads up to some fucked up shit. You know, if you guys buy into that, you're like, dude, I am fucking myself.
Well, people say we look alike. People comment. Let's just own it, you know?
Well, you guys are both hilarious, and I think every word out of your mouth is just so Maddie Smith. And so, if I want to see these things all day long, I'm gonna look at you across social platforms. So Maddie Smith, and what's the one that's kind of posting the most, current and constant content? Is it going to be Instagram?
Instagram's a little less, but Instagram I do have a lot of followers. I do post funny videos. YouTube's more like the plop hole for random stuff because I'm trying to get my subscribers up, and they said post multiple times a week. So at this point, it's about quantity over quality, and I hate to say
Uh,
it,
so if you
but I
want
don't.
quantity over quality, up that subscriber number at Maddie Smith Comedy.
That's YouTube. Just search me, you'll find my account. And I reviewed Twinkie cereal yesterday. They were really gross. And then I'll also do an Ask Maddie Anything series. And you might see Andrew Chavone in some videos coming up. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers, which is pretty.
Anyway, yeah, I see one of your videos here is Rapping 101 with Maddie Smith, and helpfully there is text on it that says number 4, practice at home, which is the cutest thing I've ever seen coming from Maddie Smith. She's looking earnestly, Rapping 101 with Maddie Smith, practice at home.
Least helpful video ever. That's all I can say.
I expect nothing other than that. So Maddie Smith, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.